which also gives you an opportunity for 50-50. 50-50 means that when I am going to give you the options, maybe A, B, C, D, and you think you want to utilize that option, you only have that option in the whole of round 1 and 2, whichever rounds that you are. So if round 1, for instance, you want to exercise that your 50-50 option, it means that I am going to reduce the options to 2. The correct one and another wrong one, making 2. Under normal circumstance, the options are 4. But if you are opting for your 50-50, it means that I'm going to give you the right answer together with the wrong one for you to choose. So that is an option for you. You only have this opportunity once in a round. Am I clear? Good. Then again, every round will last for 30 minutes. I've already indicated that. Section 2 or round 2 is put into 2 sections. We have the normal one that I will still give you options, but there will also be true and false. True and false. As usual, true and false is true and false. When you get it wrong, you've gotten it wrong. If you get it right, you've gotten it right. There's nothing like bonus, which we have to pass on. So you must also understand that. So this is the rules that we are going to have. So shall we put our hands together for them before we do the balloting and begin? I will now ask my bellboy, who happens to be Ato Yangsen. Shall we put our hands together for him? That is Ato. He's going to be the bellboy. Then we have Michael, and they are going to help me deal with today's contest. But before we move on, Ato is going to do the balloting. Take the ballot paper around you so that you pick that we know who we want to start from. So Ato, go there. It's an international day for disaster risk reduction. It's a day set aside by the United Nations to promote a global culture of risk awareness and disaster risk reduction. It takes place on the 13th of October each year. This, the communication director of NADMO had already told us about it. It's quite important. All of us need to be abreast of some of these things in our communities, wherever we are. We need not to let disaster happen before we take precautions, before we take actions. They are now moving from taking action on the scene to preventing it. We need to prevent it before it finally happens. That is why we are here. We've always talked about this, but it's an opportunity for all of us to learn, especially those of us listening to us at home. This is an education, not only for our brothers and sisters in the studio, but you also listening to us. It's quite an interesting contest we're going to have. Now, everything is set. We have Samo going to take the first question. That is from round 1. Second, followed by Cape Coast International School. Where's Cape Coast International School? Well, thank you. And Samo, you are here. Then, of course, Agri Memorial. So the sitting arrangement, again, is also perfect for us. Thank you very much. Right. So, I will ask Mr. Yangsen to signal the commencement of the quiz. Thank you. Well, to Samo Senior High School, and this is round 1. Each question worth 3 marks, and you have 30 seconds to do that. You can still apply your 50-50 even at this early stage. What it means is that the whole of the round, you will not have any 50-50 option. The first question, Samu. What do you understand by the word hazard? What do you understand by the word hazard? A. An object or activity that may cause injury or loss of life and assets. B. The knowledge and capacities to effectively manage disasters. C. The restoring of life or society after a disaster to reduce future risk. D. The management of a disaster. A. Correct for 3 points. That is an object or activity that may cause injury or loss of life and assets. Well, to Cape Coast International School, which of the following is not categorized as hazards? Which of the following is not categorized as hazards? A. Natural hazards. B. Man-made hazards. C. Sub-natural hazards. D. Socio-natural hazards.
C.
C. Sub-natural hazard. Correct for 3 points. All the following are natural hazards except all the following are natural hazards except A. Earthquakes. B. Nuclear radiation. C. Drought. D. Landslides. Nuclear radiation. And correct for 3 points. Nuclear radiation. Well, back to Samo Senior High. Which of the following are man-made hazards? Which of the following are man-made hazards? 1. Leakage of toxic waste. 2. Wars and civil strife. 3. Drought. And 4. Environmental pollution. Which of the following are man-made hazards? 1. Leakage of toxic waste. B. Wars and civil strife. 3. Drought. And 4. Environmental pollution.
I and Ivy.
I.
I and Ivy.
Okay, so leakage of toxic waste. 2. Wars and civil strife. And IV, environmental pollution. Correct for 3 points. So now to Cape Coast International for your 3 points. A serious disruption of society. A serious disruption of society due to hazardous events causing injury or loss is, I take it again. A serious disruption of society due to hazardous events causing injury or loss is A. Disaster. B. An accident. C. An emergency. And D. An event.
Disaster.
Disaster. Correct for 3 points. To Aggie Memorial Senior High for 3 points. The total impact from a disaster can be categorized as A. Only negative effects. B. Only positive effects. C. Both negative and positive effects. And D. None of the above.
Negative and positive effects.
Come again, take your time.
Both negative and positive effects.
Both negative and positive effect. The confidence of these guys tell it all. Give it to them. Give it to them. That is correct. A likely harmful situation resulting from exposure and vulnerability to hazards is a likely harmful situation resulting from exposure and vulnerability to hazards is A. A risk. B. A hazard. C. An accident. And D. A capacity.
A.
A. Correct for 3 points. A capacity. A capacity. Well, to Cape Coast International for 3 points. Before a disaster, prior information received for alertness and preparation is called. Before a disaster, prior information received for alertness and preparation is called A. News. B. Information. C. Early warning. and D, evidence.
C.
C, correct for 3 points. Early warning. Early warning. Well, to agree memorial for 3 points. When people or assets are located in a hazard-prone area, they are described as A, exposed, B, protected, C, safe, and D, risky.
A. Exposed.
Exposed, correct for 3 points. Exposed. If a person or a community is described as vulnerable, it means they are A, unable to withstand a disaster, B, self-sufficient, C, only poor, D, well-positioned to receive early warnings. Let's do it better for them. Let's do it better. They are doing so well. And of course, it means that they have really gone through the mill. They have, of course, studied whatever materials were given to them. Thank you. Then to Cape Coast International. A timely and efficient recovery from the effects of a hazard is called A, hazard, B, resilience, C, exposure, D, vulnerability.
B.
Come again.
B.
B, resilience. That is correct for 3 points. Correct for 3 points. Agri memorial. An emergency is an event where efforts are conducted initially to A, care for the wounded, B, restore lifelines and basic services, C, restore livelihoods and reconstruct communities, D, all of the above.
All of the above.
All of the above, correct. Almost senior high for 3 points. Disaster risk management aims to prevent new, manage existing and residual risk. True or false?
True.
True. Right? That is correct. Shall we put our hands together for them? To Cape Coast International. Disaster risk management consists of 4 key components. This cycle in the correct order is A, mitigation and prevention, preparedness, response, and recovery. B, response, recovery, mitigation and prevention, and preparedness. C, recovery, preparedness, mitigation and prevention, and response.
A.
A, mitigation and prevention, preparedness, response, and recovery. Correct for 3 points. Of the following options makes disaster risk management important. A, DRM reduces, and the DRM, it means disaster risk management. So A, DRM reduces the impact of disasters on people's livelihoods and well-being. B, DRM reduces society's vulnerability to extreme natural events. C, DRM helps to achieve a rapid and effective recovery. D, all of the above. All of the above. Indeed, all of the above. Correct for 3 points. Well, let's now move on to the next question. And this time around, we are going to, who is taking it, Samu? Okay. 16, we have the SFDRR aims to A. Reduce and prevent disaster risk across the globe. B. Strengthen social and economic resilience. C. Ease the negative effects of climate change, man-made disasters, and natural hazards. And D. All of the above.
All of the above.
All of the above, correct for 3 points. To Cape Coast International for 3 points. The SFDRR has 7 targets and priorities. The SFDRR has 7 targets and priorities. A. 2. B. 3. C. 4. And D. 5.
C.
C is correct for 3 points. It's 4. Now, let's move on. Let me give a little bit of a background, a brief explanation to be shown before the next question. Sustainable development is Development 30 Agenda contains the Sustainable Development Goal, that is the SDGs. The SDGs are universal call to action to end poverty, protect the planet, and improve the lives and prospects of everyone everywhere. This is to guide you for the next set of questions. Who is saying it is? Agri Memorial for 3 points. How many goals form the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development? A. 10. B. 15. C. 17. And D. 30.
C 17.
17 goals. Correct for 3 points. 17 Sustainable Development Goals. To Samuel Senior High. Climate change may lead to more severe natural hazards, which could influence disaster, magnitude, and frequency. True or false?
True.
True. Correct for 3 points. Correct for 3 points. Cape Coast International. How do you think we can adapt to climate change? How do you think we can adapt to climate change? A. Construct climate resilience building and infrastructure. B. Replanting forests and restoring damaged ecosystems. C. Invest in drought-resistant crops and water infrastructure. D. All of the above.
All of the above.
All of the above. Correct for 3 points. Agri Memorial. So that will be the last question for the first round. Agri Memorial. Living in a floodplain but modifying your building structure to mitigate potential loss is described as living in a floodplain but modifying your building structure to mitigate potential loss is described as A. Not vulnerable. C. The inventory of elements in a hazardous area. D. The materialization of risk.
Being exposed but not vulnerable.
Being exposed but not vulnerable. Correct for 3 points, and that brings us to the end of round 1. Let's to tell us what is it that we had for round 1.
Hello. Hi. After round 1, the score must goes like Agri Memorial Senior High School, 21 points. Cape Coast International Senior High School, 21 points. Samo Senior High School also got 21 points.
Wow. So the contest promised to be a keen one indeed. And of course, it is proven for the first round. We are hoping we will see who is who in the second and third rounds, which we are yet to go. Ato, are we set for the second round?
Yes, please.
All right. So, round 2. And the rules of engagement is still there. We still want to maintain that. But I am going to start with 2 or 4 questions before we come to 8 other questions that, of course, you are going to have. When it is true or false, you only have one option. There's no bonus marks anywhere. We cannot pass true or false question on. But aside it, so we are going to divide the session into 2. One section is going to be true or false, and the other is going to be the mainstream questions with options. So, good luck to you all. Samo Senior High, your first question. Disaster risk reduction is not related to the Sustainable Development Goals. True or false?
False.
False. Correct for 3 points. Correct for 3 points. Cape Coast International. During a crisis, it is important to filter, share, and disseminate only credible information from authorized sources. True or false?
True.
True. Correct for 3 points. Agri Memorial Senior High. Disaster risk reduction and climate change adaptation can help reduce the impact of disasters on people's health and well-being. True or false?
True.
True. Correct for 3 points. Agri Memorial. Carry out a sanitation behavioral change campaign to help reduce the risk of flood. True or false?
True.
True. Correct for 3 points. Cape Coast International. You can participate in governmental policy making to take action in disaster. You can participate in governmental policy making to take action in disaster management. True or false?
True.
True. Correct for 3 points. Agri Memorial. A resolution in DRR. A resolution in DRR is a UN formal decision, but a communique is an official media announcement. True or false?
True.
True. Correct for 3 points. Agri Memorial. Substantive points for Samo Senior High. The UN adopted a resolution in 2017 containing indicators for measuring global progress in DRR. True or false?
True.
True. Correct for 3 points. Correct for 3 points. To Cape Coast International. The AUC adopted a plan of action in Africa on DRR in line with the SFDRR. True or false?
True.
Correct for 3 points. It's true. It's true. To Agri Memorial. The Africa Youth Advisory Board and Africa Science and Technology Advisory Group on DRR were established to the Africa Youth Advisory Board and Africa Science and Technology Advisory Group on DRR were established to hold on. Well, I still have 2 or 4 questions here, so let's hold on to that and move to the true or false. Let's finish with that one before we can move in to that particular question. So Agri Memorial, take this question rather. The program of action replaces national plans on how to engage young people in the DRR process. Is true or false?
False.
False. Correct for 3 points. Correct for 3 points. Well, now to Samo Senior High. Samo Senior High. Implementation of the SFDRR, SDGs, and CCA should not integrate the rules of stakeholder groups at all levels. Implementation of the SFDRR, SDGs, and CCA should not integrate the rules. Disaster happened at Circle in Accra in May 2015. What was the twin disaster? The twin disaster happened at Circle in Accra in May 2015. What was the twin disaster?
Fire and water.
Fire and water. Fire and water. Fire and water. Fire and water. Your teachers are, well, but we can't impose your answers on me. Fire and water. All right. Flood and water. Flood and fire. That is correct. That is correct. Flood and fire combined. Good. Cape Coast International. NADMO mounted an operation to prepare for the spillage of the Bagel Dam. What was the operation? NADMO mounted an operation to prepare for the spillage of the Bagel Dam. What was the operation? A. Operation Thunderbolt. B. Operation Save Life. C. Operation Ahubwa. Whose question is it? Cape Coast International. For 3 points, we are waiting.
Operation Save Life.
Operation Save Life. And that is not correct. That is not correct. It is Operation Thunderbolt. I will not pass on any of this question to anybody. These are individual questions. This is the decider. We will not pass on. There will not be any bonus here. So it is Operation Thunderbolt. Cape Coast Agri Memorial. There is another dam apart from the Bagre Dam that causes flooding when spilled. There is another dam apart from the Bagre Dam that causes flooding when spilled. Do you have it? This one, they didn't provide answers for me.
The answer is there.
You are supposed to do it yourself. So they should tell me.
Yes.
Yeah.
The answer is
Yeah. So, this one, there are no options here.
The wager down.
Come again.
The wager down.
That is wrong. It is not the Wager Dam. It is Kopianga Dam. Kopianga Dam. Kopianga Dam. All right. So back to Samo Senior High. Samo Senior High. In which country was the first COVID-19 case recorded? In which country was the first COVID-19 case recorded? Samo Senior High.
China.
China. And that is correct. And that is correct for 3 points. We are separating the boys from the men. Cape Coast International. Your 3-point question. In which month did Ghana record the first case of COVID-19? In which month did Ghana record the first case of COVID-19?
March.
March, and that is correct. That is correct for 3 points. March. March is correct. Agri Memorial. Which resources did the government give for free as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic? Which resources did government give for free as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic? Water. Electricity. Is that all? Water and electricity. Correct for 3 points. Correct for 3 points. I hope.
So I just say when they open the wager dam, it's also called a flooding.
Come again.
It's when they open the wager dam, it's called flooding.
We are looking at where is it? Which question? So you are the Kapianga Gam. Oh, okay. What they were looking at is the Kopianga Dam. Yeah, they say which other dam. So you have issues with that?
Yes.
Let's move on when we get to whose question again? Samu? Come again. So Samu's question. Whose question is this one? Samu's question.
It's correct.
Which one?
The wager down. So it's correct. You didn't add at the north, so it's correct.
I am being asked to, but I reserve the right, the listen to do that. I will look at it later on. So let me do some consultation. What are the organizers? Last year, I would think that that question needs to be awarded to Agri Memorial. So Agri Memorial, you still have your 3 points. In fact, they had wanted to make it Northern region specific. So apart from the Bagri Dam, another dam in the north, but they omitted the north specific. So what it means is that we are generalizing it. That is why what you are saying, your rebuttal or whatever, we want to accept it. But that is what you need to do as students. Like in the other case where it is true, you know, artificial and natural, there may be mistakes. We all have it. So it is important, don't be timid. Draw attention of organizer, of your teacher when it is wrong, but politely, so that your teacher will not take offense. It shows that you read and you understand. Not, it tells you it is false and you know it is true. You also want to go, it is false. The standard examiner will mark you down. So that is correct for 3 points. Let's put our hands together for them. So Agri Memorial, we've given you your 3 marks, okay? All right. But no matter what, we will still separate the boys from the guys. The men from the boys. We will do that. And the next set of questions, we hope to achieve that. Summer Senior High. All right. Your question. Say fill in the blanks. Fill in the blanks. The Sustainable Development Goals were agreed in which year? The Sustainable Development Goals were agreed upon in, give me the year.
2015.
2015, and you are there. 2015. Cape Coast International. The Sendai framework for Sendai framework were agreed in. That's the Sendai framework was also agreed in which year?
2015.
That was also 2015. You are correct. Cape Coast International Agri Memorial Senior High. The purpose of the SDGs is to help all humans to. The purpose of the SDGs, that is the Sustainable Development Goals, is to help all humans to
Eradicate poverty, reduce risk of disasters.
reduce risk of disasters. No. You have 30 seconds.
Can we use the double chance?
You want to use
The double chance.
the double chance. Hey. You see where they've got into. Okay. 1. The Agenda 2030. 2. Live sustainably.
Agenda 2030.
It is so wrong. Live sustainably. So, there will not be any bonus. Because I have given, they've taken their chance, the 50-50, the next bonus, the person will know. So that is it. It's for them to live sustainably. Like. The next question, Samu. The Sendai framework for Sendai framework is to help humans.
To reduce their risk to disasters.
Hold on. The Sendai framework for Sendai is to help humans
To reduce risk. To reduce their risk to disasters.
to reduce their risk to disasters. That is correct. Reduce their risk to disasters. Agri Memorial. No, Cape Coast International. The Sustainable Development Goals is also known as. The Sustainable Development Goals is also known as.
2030 agenda.
Come again.
Agenda 2030.
Agenda 2030. Agenda 2030. That is correct. That is correct. Because it is expected that by the end of 2030, all the goals that have been stated, we will be able to achieve them or go closer to them. That's why they say Agenda 2020. That is correct. Agri Memorial. Achieving the SFDRR is dash to achieving the Sustainable Development Goals.
So there's a question again.
Again, achieving the SFDRR is dash to achieving the Sustainable Development Goals.
Coherent.
No.
It's the same as achieving it. It's aligned.
Come again.
Aligned.
Aligned. No. Achieving the SFDRR is, there's a word, just one word, is to achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. Is key. Is key. Is key to achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. Putting on the SDGs is annual, whilst reporting on the SFDRR is. Come again. Biennial. Yeah, that is correct. What does biennial mean?
2 years.
Exactly, 2 years. So one is 1 year, the other one is 2 years. Cape Coast International. The SFDRR and the SDGs are both global. are both global what? The SFDRR and SDGs are both global what?
Development agenda.
Development agendas. That is correct. Are all development agendas. They are all global development agendas. Agri-Memorial. Dash between SFDRR and SDG will support the use of limited resources to achieve more results. Dash between SFDRR and SDG will support the use of limited resources to achieve more results. Which is that?
Coherence.
Coherence. That is correct. Coherence is correct. All right, let's start with Samo with another set of questions. Let's move away from this and start with another set of questions with Samo Senior High. This time, short answers. So, you just give me, I just read a sentence to you, which you know, and you just give me a short answer to that. Samo, which platform is the official platform for reporting on progress on achieving the Sustainable Development Goals?
ECOSOC.
ECOSOC. ECOSOC. And ECOSOC is correct. And ECOSOC is correct. Cape Coast International. What makes the goals under the SDGs sustainable? What makes the goals under the SDGs sustainable? Cape Coast International.
Consideration in both consideration, prevention, consideration, both future and present, consideration, benefit generation.
Cape Coast International, come again. Take your time. The pressure seems to be on you. Your time is also going. Take your time and come again. I'm still waiting.
Consideration and present and future consideration.
The answer is the consideration of both present and future generations' benefits. I would like to give you 1 out of 3. The keywords were there, but you couldn't put them. So let me dash you 1 out of 3. Agri Memorial Zion Senior High. I've mentioned the full name of your school. I believe this one is to give you some energy and prepare you for the next tasks ahead. Agri Memorial. Which platform is the official platform for reporting on progress? Have you done this? Okay. How many targets are related to disaster risk reduction in the 17 Sustainable Development Goals? How many targets are related to disaster risk reduction in the 17 Sustainable Development Goals?
25.
25 targets. Agri Memorial is correct. And Agri is correct. Samo Senior High. Who is responsible for achieving the Sustainable Development Goals? Who is responsible?
Everyone.
Everyone, then that is correct. Everyone is responsible. Cape Coast International. Who is responsible for achieving the SFDRR?
Everyone.
Everyone is also correct. Agri Memorial. Which global development agenda preceded the SDGs? Which global development agenda preceded the Sustainable Development Goals?
Millennium Development. Millennium Development Goals.
Exactly, Millennium Development Goals. This was the goals the world set, that the UN set for nations to achieve. It has its own target. Unfortunately, we were not able to meet those targets before the end of the goal. So it was rolled on to the Sustainable Development Goals. So exactly the Millennium Development Goals. Who's then? Someone? Right. So, Samo Senior High for the first question of the second round, that the second session. Living in a floodplain but modifying your building structure to mitigate potential loss is described as. This question, hold on. This question has been asked already, right? Yeah. This question is asked already. No. Somebody is doing me juju somewhere. Somebody is doing me juju. I refuse to be jujued. Right. So let's begin. Agri Memorial. Samo Senior High. To reduce the risk of a disaster occurrence, it is necessary to know that A hazard is not the sole driver of risk. B, negative social processes transform hazards to disasters. C, vulnerability is highly context specific. D, all of the above.
All of the above.
All of the above. Correct for 3 points. Have you noticed something? Looks as if all of the aboves are winning. Wherever there's all of the above is winning. But if people are trying Lotto, you will try it and before one day. Right. So to Cape Coast International. Regarding heightened vulnerability, sustainable development is a key objective that can be achieved through A, responding to disasters timely. B, reducing risk and exposure to hazards. C, addressing the effects of a changing climate. D, all of the above.
All of the above.
All of the above. And all of the above did the trick. Correct for 3 points. Agri Memorial for 3 points. Examples of vulnerability manifestations which can endanger sustainable development include A, poor environmental practices. B, unplanned urbanization. C, inadequate livelihood options. And D, all of the above.
All of the above.
All of the above indeed. Correct for 3 points. To Samo Senior High. The following actions by human beings may increase the risk of disasters, except A, littering drains with plastic waste. B, deforestation. C, well-planned urbanization. And D, unsustainable farming practices.
C.
C, well-planned urbanization. Correct for 3 points. Correct for 3 points. Well, to Cape Coast International. Human activities believed to be causing the long-term heating of Earth climate system include A, fossil fuel burning. B. Deforestation. C. Urbanization. D. All of the above.
All of the above.
All of the above. All of the above. That is the slogan, and it is correct. To Agri Memorial, the risk of extreme impact on human society is determined by A. Hazards. B. Exposure. C. Vulnerability. And D. All of the above.
All of the above.
All of the above did the trick again. Correct for 3 points. Under what circumstance can a hazard be transformed into a disaster? A. When there are timely, effective, and responsive systems available. B. When fragile situations increase unsusceptibility to the impact of hazards. C. When there is a lack of capacity to deal with hazard impacts. D. When there are measures in place to preserve and restore essential basic structures.
B.
B. Correct for 3 points. When fragile situation increases susceptibility to the impact of hazard. That is correct. To Cape Coast International. Which of the following seeks to build resilience to hazards regarding sustainable development? Which of the following seek to build resilience to hazards regarding sustainable development? A. Disaster risk reduction, DRR. B. Climate change adaptation, CCA. C. Both CCA and DRR. That is CCA and DRR. D. None of the above.
C.
C. Correct for 3 points. By this time, why? You refuse to do the trick. Why not all of the above? All right. That is correct. Correct for 3 points. CCA and DRR. Thank you very much. Now to Samo Senior High. Agri Memorial. Sorry, Agri, forgive me. Integrated disaster risk management aims to A. Identify potential hazards. B. Strengthening the coping and adaptation capacities of the society. C. Address residual risk and prevent new risk. D. All of the above.
All of the above.
All of the above, indeed. Correct for 3 points. Reduction of climate-related disaster losses. B. Increased effectiveness of both climate change adaptation and DRR approaches. C. More efficient use of financial, human, and natural resources. D. Unsustainable development.
D.
D. Correct for 3 points. Unsustainable development. That is correct. And sustainable development connected. A. Mitigation has the potential to reduce climate change impact. B. Adaptation can reduce the damage of those impacts. C. Both mitigation and adaptation contribute to the sustainable development of societies. D. All of the above.
All of the above.
All of the above. Correct for 3 points. Point for Agri Memorial Senior High. As part of adaptation and mitigation measures to achieve sustainable development, it is necessary to A. Assess how climate change will create new risk. B. for DRR to consider current climate-related risk. C. To take steps to build back better. And D. All of the above.
All of the above.
All of the above. Correct for 3 points. 2015 marked an important year regarding climate change and disaster risk reduction because of A. The adoption of the Sendai framework on DRR 2015 to 2030. B. The adoption of Paris Agreement on climate change. C. The adoption of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. And D. All of the above.
D. All of the above.
D. All of the above. Correct for 3 points. Cape Coast International. Coherence can be achieved between international framework, that is SFDRR, Paris Agreement on Climate Change, and SDGs. A. By aligning visions, goals, and priorities of the frameworks. B. Through operationalization of policy framework and institutional arrangements. C. Ensuring technical capacities of key actors. And D. All of the above.
All of the above.
All of the above and all of the above wins. Correct for 3 points. Alright. To Agri Memorial. Which of the following options is correct? Which of the following options is correct? A. Disaster risk management, DRM, is the implementation of disaster risk reduction. That's DRR. B. Disaster risk reduction, DRR, is the implementation of disaster risk management, DRM.
A.
A. Correct for 3 points. Disaster risk management, DRM. Together for them. They are doing extremely well. They are doing extremely well, of course, making my work quite simpler for me. I'm loving it. Right. To have the final round, the final set of questions for this round. And this is Samu Senior High. To Samu Senior High, young people can be described as agents of change in the DRR process because they are A. Quick to learn. B. Innovative in approach. C. Agile in action. D. All of the above.
All of the above.
All of the above, and correct for 3 points. It is important to act when a disaster strikes. A. To avoid chaos and confusion due to the unexpected crisis. B. To make yourself and your family less vulnerable to disasters. C. To reduce the threats and impact of physical phenomena on the community. D. All of the above.
All of the above.
All of the above did the trick again. Correct for transforming young people from victims to active participants in the DRR process means transforming young people from victims to active participants in the DRR process means A. Including them in awareness raising, behavior change, and advocacy initiatives. B. Building their capacity to take action before, during, and after a disaster. C. Creating an enabling environment to lead and be meaningfully engaged. D. All of the above.
All of the above.
All of the above. For this section, that is round 2. We've come to the end of it. And we will take our time and go to our score master to give us the scores for round 2.
Yeah, round 2 on my score sheets. It seems they are all getting the same result. And it goes like after round 2, Agri Memorial Senior High School got 30 points. Cape Coast International Senior High School got 30 points. And Samo Senior High School got 30 points.
Wow, so we still have a tie there. We still don't seem to have a winner. But of course, trust me, I'm going to do the trick here. We are going to see who is who. And that is round 3. So round 3, we are ushering into round 3. Mr. Youngson, are we ready? Are we ready? Right. As the bell goes, it means we are ready for round 3. Round 3 also go same way. We have a session where we will be asking you to do some fill-ins. I will read a statement for you to provide the answers at some point. You will have to provide them. There will be a bit of a session of 2 or 4 somewhere. That one we've done. So we are going to have a very interesting contest. And trust me, based on your acumen and the way you have exhibited yourself this morning, I am not scared. You are going to sail through. So be rest assured. Round 3. And the first question goes to Samo Senior High School. This session, we call it multiple choice questions. Multiple choice questions. This one, like what we have already gone through, 30 seconds, 3 points. If you are not able, I'll pass it on. We get to a session where I will ask you, read a short sentence for you to fill in and others. As and when we get there, I will draw your attention. But 1, Agri Samo Senior High. Your first question for 3 points in round 3. What are the man-made hazards? What are man-made hazards? A. They are hazards caused by anthropogenic actions or inactions. B. They are hazards caused by manufacturing companies. C. They are hazards caused by animals to cause disasters for man. And D. They are manufacturers' hazards. They are manufacturers' hazards. A. Correct for 3 points. They are hazards caused by anthropogenic actions or inactions. Correct for 3 points. Cape Coast International. What are natural hazards? A. They are hazards caused by human actions or inactions. B. They are phenomena attributed to a higher being that may have negative effects on humans or the environment. C. They are things made naturally by man that can cause disasters. D. They are hazards caused by natural intelligence. Cape Coast International. B. And correct for 3 points. They are phenomena attributed to a higher being that may have a negative effect. 3 points for Agri Memorial. Your question. What are risk drivers? Risk drivers. A. These are people who drive risk. B. These are vehicles to transport risk. C. Risk drivers are things that you put in a risk car to move it. D. These are processes that influence the location, occurrence, and intensity of natural hazards. D. Correct for 3 points. Correct for 3 points. Which of the following are characteristics of hazards? A. Magnitude. B. Speed of onset. C. Risky. D. Only A and B are characteristics of hazards.
D.
Correct for 3 points. Only A and B are characteristics of hazards. Correct for 3 points. Cape Coast International for 3 points. What is the full meaning of DRM? A. Disaster risk movement. B. Disaster risk mobilization. C. Disaster risk management. And D. Disaster reduction management.
C.
Correct for 3 points. Disaster risk management. Now to Agri Memorial. What is risk? What is risk? A. The conditions of vulnerability that are present. B. A result of the combination of the exposure to a hazard. C. The combination of the probability of an event and its negative consequences. D. Insufficient capacity or measures to reduce or cope with potential negative consequences.
C.
Correct for 3 points. That Samo Senior High. What is vulnerability? What is vulnerability? A. The conditions determined by only physical factors or processes which increases the susceptibility of a community to the impact of hazards. B. The conditions determined by only social factors or processes which increases the susceptibility of a community to the impact of hazards. C. The conditions determined by only environmental factors or processes which increase the susceptibility of a community to the impact of hazards. And D. All of the above.
D, all of the above.
All of the above. All of the above indeed. Correct for 3 points. ERR refers to A. The ability of people, organizations, and systems using available skills and resources to handle adverse conditions. B. The characteristics and circumstances of a community, system, or asset that make us susceptible to the damaging effect of a hazard. You will not allow me to even complete the question. And A is correct. A is correct for 3 points. Now to Agri Memorial. Exposure refers to A. The elements at risk from a natural or man-made hazard event. B. The degree to which a person, system, or unit is likely to experience harm due to exposure to perturbation of stresses. C. The threat of a stress or perturbation to a system and what it values. D. The conditional probability and magnitude of harm.
A.
A. And it is correct. A. Luck. If you don't know, you don't know. You give me just one answer. There's no option. I can't pass it on to another person again. You have 30 seconds to deal with this and tell me whether it is true or false. Samo Senior High. According to the United Nations Office for Disaster Risk Reduction, resilience is defined as the ability of a system, community, or society exposed to hazards to resist, absorb, accommodate, to and recover from the effects of a hazard in a timely and efficient manner, including through the preservation and restoration of its essential basic structures and functions. True or false?
True.
Correct for 3 points. Correct for 3 points. Cape Coast International. Flood is an example of a slow onset disaster. True or false?
False.
False. Correct for 3 points. Agri Memorial. A hazard is defined as a potentially damaging physical event, phenomenon, or human activity that may cause the loss of life or injury, property damage, social and economic disruption, or environmental degradation.
True.
True, and that is correct. That is correct. Defined as a serious disruption of the functioning of a community or a society involving widespread human, material, or environmental losses and impact which exceeds the ability of the affected community to cope using only its own resources. True or false?
True.
True, and that is correct. That is correct for 3 points. Cape Coast International. There is no such thing as a natural disaster. True or false?
True.
True. There is no such thing as a natural disaster. True or false? True. True. Correct for 3 points. There should be. In DRM, exposure is a necessary but not sufficient determinant of risk. In DRM, exposure is a necessary but not sufficient determinant of risk. True or false?
True.
True, and correct for 3 points. Thank you. Agri Memorial, for your final question for this session of this round. Vulnerability, the threat of a stress or perturbation to a system and what it values. Vulnerability is the threat of a stress or perturbation to a system and what it values. True or false?
False.
False, and that is correct. For beat the last session of round 3, and this session you are going to fill in. I will read something to you, leave a blank, and you have to fill in for us. So just 1 minute, organize yourself whilst you get ready. Up to get ready to signal you. Just 1 minute, relax your nerves, then let's move on regards to the final session of round 3. Do your chit chat small, and we now move straight to the final session of the round. All right. To Samo Senior High. Dash is the concept and practice of reducing disaster risks through analysis and management of the casual factors of disaster. I will repeat this one for all of you. I will not read it once, I'll read it at least twice for you to fill in. Dash is the concept and practice of reducing disaster risk through analysis and management of the casual factors of disasters.
Disaster risk reduction.
Disaster risk reduction. That is correct. That is correct. That's correct. Cape Coast International. Dash is the outright avoidance of adverse impact of hazards and related disasters. Again, dash is the outright avoidance of adverse impact of hazards and related disasters.
Prevention.
Come again.
Prevention.
Prevention, and it is correct. Prevention is correct. Agri Memorial. Dash is the lessening or limitation of the impact of hazards and related disasters.
Mitigation.
Mitigation is correct. Mitigation is correct. Adjustment in natural or human systems in response to actual or expected climatic stimuli. Dash is the adjustment in natural or human systems in response to actual or expected climate stimuli.
Adaptation.
Adaptation is correct. Adaptation is correct. The boys are good. The girls are beautiful. Well, Cape Coast International. Dash is the knowledge and capacities developed by stakeholders in disaster risk management to effectively anticipate, respond to, and recover from disaster. I take it again. Dash is the knowledge and capacities developed by stakeholders in disaster risk management to effectively anticipate, respond to, and recover from disasters.
Preparedness.
Preparedness, and you are correct. Preparedness, you are correct. Samo Senior High.
Agri.
Agri. Agri Memorial. Dash is the provision of emergency services and public assistance during or immediately after a disaster in order to save lives, reduce health impacts, ensure public safety, and meet the basic subsistence needs of the people affected.
Response.
Response, and correct for 3 points, is the restoration and improvement, where appropriate, of facilities, livelihoods, and living conditions of disaster-affected communities, including effort to reduce disaster risk factors. Dash is the restoration and improvement, where appropriate, of facilities, livelihoods, and living conditions of disaster-affected communities, including efforts to reduce disaster risk factors.
Recovery.
Recovery, and that is correct. Dash is defined as the combination of all strength, attributes, and resources within a community, society, or organization that can be used to achieve agreed goals. Dash is defined as the combination of all strength, attributes, and resources within a community, society, or organization that can be used to achieve agreed goals.
Capacity.
Capacity, and it is correct. Capacity is correct. Capacity is correct. Capacity is correct. Of a dash. The role of a dash is to organize and manage of resources and responsibilities for addressing all aspects of disasters, in particular preparedness, response, and initial recovery steps.
Disaster management organization.
Disaster management organization, and that is correct. For society exposed to hazards, to resist, absorb, accommodate to, and recover from the effect of a hazard in a timely and efficient manner, including through the preservation and restoration of its essential resilience, and that is correct. That is correct. That is correct. All right. Structures, facilities, networks, and other assets which provide services that are essential to the social and economic functioning of a community or society.
Critical structure.
Critical structure. Hey, I like the. That's correct. Correct for 3 points. Correct for 3 points. I like the slangs. Critical structures. Thank you. That is correct. Agri Memorial. Hey. The formula for risk is given as R is equal to, in bracket, H times E, bracket close, times V. What does V stand for in the question?
Vulnerability.
Vulnerability. Thank you. And that is correct. Samo Senior High. How could you call a management process that analyzes disaster risk and establishes arrangements in advance to enable timely, effective, and appropriate responses?
Contingency planning.
Come again.
Contingency planning.
Contingency planning, and that is correct. Contingency planning, and that is correct. Cape Coast International. How do you call the process by which the capacity of a group, organization, or society is reviewed against desired goals, where existing capacities are identified for maintenance or strengthening, and capacity gaps are identified for further action?
Capacity assessment.
Capacity assessment, and that is correct. Capacity assessment is correct. Now, Agri Memorial for 3 points. What do you call a set of systematically collected records about disaster occurrence, damages, losses, and impact, compliant with the Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction 2015 to 2030 Monitoring Minimum Requirements? Agri Memorial.
Disaster losses database.
Come again.
Disaster losses database.
A disaster loss database. Correct for 3 points. A disaster loss database. For 3 points. The disaster risk that remains even when effective disaster risk reduction measures are in place, and for which emergency response and recovery capacities must be maintained, is called
Residual risk.
residual risk. That is correct. Residual risk. Cape Coast International. What do you call system of institutions, mechanisms, policy and legal frameworks, and other arrangements to guide, coordinate, and oversee disaster risk reduction and related areas of policy?
Disaster risk governance.
Disaster risk governance, and that is correct for 3 points. That is correct for 3 points. Agri Memorial. An integrated system of hazard monitoring, forecasting and prediction, disaster risk assessment, communication and preparedness, activity system and processes that enables individuals, communities, government, businesses, and others to take timely action to reduce disaster, risk in advance of hazardous events is called
Early warning system.
early warning systems, and that is also correct. Early warning systems. Moving people and assets temporarily to safer places before, during, or after the occurrence of a hazardous event in order to protect them
Evacuation.
is called evacuation. Evacuation, and it is evacuation indeed. Correct for 3 points. All right. Just 1 minute. Cape Coast International. Agri rather. Cape Coast. That's what you should tell me. All right. Cape Coast. The situation of people, infrastructure, housing, production capacities, and other tangible human assets located in hazard-prone areas is called
Exposure.
exposure. And I like the slangs. That is correct. That is correct. That is also correct. All right. So I need. It's now the turn of Agri Memoria. Okay. Agri Memoria. Your substantive question. Just give me a minute, right? And, that one's also multiple choice questions, but it will be centered on the Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction, that's the SFDRR. So we will start with you. And that is Agri Memoria. Agri Memoria to your substantive question for 3 points. How many priorities has the Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction, SFDRR?
4.
Hey, Agri Memoria. That is Agri Memoria, right? Hold on. That is correct. Correct for 3 points. Correct for 3 points. Samuel Senior High. How many targets have the Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction?
7.
7. That is D. Correct for 3 points. Correct for 3 points. Cape Coast International. How many times are children mentioned in the Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction? Cape Coast International.
4.
4. That is correct. That is correct. Agri Memoria. How many times are youth mentioned in the Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction?
5.
5. That is B. Correct. Correct for 3 points. Where was the Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction, SFDRR, adopted? A. Japan. And it is correct. A. Japan. They will not even allow me to even give them the options. That is beautiful. Now to Cape Coast International. When was the Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction, SFDRR, was it adopted?
January 2017.
Come again?
January 2017.
January 2017.
17. Yeah.
January 2017.
A.
January 2017.
No, sir. Sir, can you please read the possible answers for us?
But you didn't allow me to. You didn't allow me to. When was the Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction SFDRR was it adopted? A. 2000, B. 2005, C. 2010, D. 2015.
D 2015.
D. 2015, and that is correct. 2015. Next time, that is IDDRR 2020 in Ghana. And what it means is that they want to create awareness of the general public and especially the young ones. They say catch them young and they shall be yours forever. They want to inculcate in these young people the issues of disaster management. We need not to wait for such things to happen to us. We need not to wait for floods to happen in our vicinity, in our areas, before action is taken. It is your responsibility, it is my responsibility to do that. And it starts with you. So that is why this quiz competition has begun. This is the southern sector, and in regards to the southern sector was represented by schools in Cape Coast. Of course, Cape Coast, of course, if schools representing the southern sector is here, you must understand. But what we need to take home, it doesn't matter who wins, it doesn't matter who loses. All of you are gurus. All of you are icons. You've done pretty well. The essence of this is that we need to understand prevention is better than cure.
Round, they got 63 points. 63
Clap
points.
for them. Adi Memorial. 63 points.
Cape Coast International Senior High School, after the 3 rounds, they got 64 points.
64. Cape Coast International.
And Samo Senior High School, after the 3 rounds, they got 69 points.
69 points. 69 points.
And if we add up all the 3 rounds and we go the total, Agri Memorial Senior High School got 114 points. And Cape Coast International Senior High School got 115 points. And Samoa Senior High School got 120 points.
So, and the winner is Samo Senior High School with 120 points after 3 rounds of very competitive quiz contest. Samo, congratulations and well done to all the contestants, all the schools for your man's job. You've done pretty well and we're so grateful. We appreciate you. We won Africa Youth Organization, NADMO Ghana, and all the UNESCO and all the partners for bringing to us this very beautiful, very competitive quiz competition, which is aimed at, of course, enlightening us, creating awareness among the young people, among the general public about disaster management and its organization. I will now therefore call on Betty Ofe-Bonsu of Gayo. Betty. Wow. So Betty. Betty, who is
Once again to the schools, I would like to say you've done very well. You've done tremendously. We are actually surprised. Thank you once again to the principals. These are some souvenirs for the schools before the awards. I would love to introduce Mr. AC, Mr. Brakwa, first of all, Mr. Brakwa, to come and give the souvenirs to the students. So Mr. Brakwa, please join me here.
Mr. Brakwa? Shall we put our hands together for Mr. Brakwa whilst he heads to the auditorium?
Thank you. Before he joins us here, the brain behind this quiz competition is Miss Sandra Delali Keme. She chairs the Africa Youth Advisory Board for Disaster Risk Reduction. Without her, this program would not have come to play. So now this is the time for the presentation of the 7 years. So first of all, we would like to invite Samo Senior High School as they come for their 7 years. So please let's put our hands together for them. Oh, let's keep on putting our hands together for them. Please, the next school to follow, Cape Coast International. Cape Coast International.
All of them.
Yes. Yes, all of them. Cape Coast International. Let's put our hands together for them. And the last school, Agri Memorial, SHS. Agri Memorial, please join us. You've done tremendously well. You've really done well. Thank you very much. So now I'll leave the floor for the quizmaster to call the people for the awards. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much, Miss Betty Ofe Bonsu, and that by presenting to us the first runner-up award. Shall we give a clap to Mr. Ofe? Cape Coast International. Shall we put our hands together? Oh, that is. He's doing for the second runner-up. Okay, the second runner-up is Agri Memorial. Shall we put our hands together? Hold on. Yeah, so I want to.
I know what you are saying.
Let me take a picture with them. Go.
Congratulations.
All right. Thank you very much. So Betty, are you doing the first runner-up for us? You were supposed to do the third. So first runner-up is Cape Coast International School. Please, shall we do it better for them? Congratulations. Thank you very much, Cape Coast International. And now to the winners. The winners of the much-awaited competition. They are going to represent the southern sector of the country. And of course, the southern sector was being represented by schools in the Cape Coast region. And of course, they are Samo Senior High School. Mr. John Edison from NADMO is going to do us the honors by presenting to our winners their souvenirs and their award. So Benedicta Ampoma Abeka and Spencer Gavi Tengi. They were the representatives of Samo. Congratulations, Samo. Congratulations, Samo. Congratulations, Benedicta Ampoma Abeka and Spencer Gavi Tengi. Congratulations. And congratulations to Cape Coast International School and of course Patrick Oduro and Philemon Daly. Congratulations to you. You've done pretty well. And same to Agri Memorial. You've also done marvelously well. And Agri Memorial was also represented by Obed Nkrumah and James Zhang Abraham. Congratulations to all. And that brings us to the end of the prestigious competition, quiz competition that was brought to you by NADMO, Gayo, and UNICEF, and all the partners. Of course, we came to you live from GBC Radio Central and our general purpose studios, a very beautiful studios here, and almost all the studio audience have also comported themselves so well. They have done the obvious, they've done the clapping, and they've done the cheer, and we're so grateful. Thank you so much, the head teacher.